All right, I'm here with Liam Mahon from Carbon Black Technologies in front of one of their glorious screens. Why don't you go ahead and tell us, what is this?
So this is an ambient light rejecting large format projection surface. We developed this surface to meet the needs of the modern projection industry by creating a black surface. And rather than working with a traditional type of system where you have a white screen and you're trying to produce, black levels, which is technically impossible, we start with black and we can produce white on our black surface through our unique proprietary system that resonates light using a laser light source projector.
Okay, so where can we find this? Like, where could we go out and either rent or purchase one of these?
All right, so this is in fact our first debut of this technology in the United States. It's a new tech. You can obviously find it here at Nationwide. Give those guys a call and they'll sort you out. There's going to be many other channels to market as well across the US as we start rolling out this product in the coming year and going into 2022.
So is there anything special that I need to do or I need to have in order to use this, or is there like a minimum lumen count that this works on, or does this work across the board?
Good question. The one thing that you do want to look out for is you want to have a decent lumen projector. Laser is preferable. And it doesn't matter too much about the lumens. What you really want to be looking at is around 600, 500 lumens per square meter. You got to guys work that out in feet. And that will trigger the surface to start resonating. As you go up in lumens, you can obviously bring it into much more challenging environments. This stage floor, for example, we have incredibly strong overhead lighting blasting down on the surface, and it's doing its best to wash out that surface, but this surface will not let that happen because it's going to actively absorb ambient light. That's the photons of light getting scattered around the room, and it's going to bring in that focused laser light photon and start resonating that and that alone. So the lumens value is not so important. What is important though is thinking about the resolution of your image and the square feet and having the right projector for that square feet. Don't go 16 by 9 on a 2000 lumen projector. Make sure you're adequately getting the right projector from Nationwide to match the surface size.
All right, thank you very much. Hey everybody, I am here once again, and I'm with Bob Hawkanson of Panasonic. What is this?
This is Kairos.
Okay.
Kairos is a new, what you call a traditional video switcher that also has a layer of video processing on top of it.
Okay.
And what is really cool about Kairos is it kind of leverages workflows that we're using currently, but it really has a backbone of things that we're going to be using in the future. So if you kind of want to take a look over here into this rack that our friends at Nationwide Video have built us, is that you'll notice they're kind of showing you all of the inputs and outputs that are capable inside of Kairos. You'll notice here that there's an SDI layer, a traditional SDI layer that people are used to using today, no big deal, that has both SDI and HDMI inputs and outputs. We also have a full ST2110 layer, so as people are starting to work in higher bandwidth situations, moving remote campuses, moving signals across large swaths of people, we have that. And then we also have a 1 gigabit layer for things like PTZ control, TCP/IP control of any of the tape decks or anything like that. And so what we're really trying to do is to show you that we're taking in traditional baseband signals, but what we're really trying to do is to put them into a software system. And what you notice here, as we look at a traditional multi-viewer layout, you usually get predefined multi-viewer layouts that show you, hey, you can do 36 pips, 25, 16, whatever it is. What we're trying to show you here is now that we're kind of in a GPU and CPU-based environment, we don't worry about boundaries anymore, right? Now all of a sudden I can add as many tiles, as many sources, countdown clocks, things that before people told you, no, you can't put a countdown clock into a multi-viewer, that needs to be a video source. Well, guess what? We've converted it to a video source. Okay. So there's nothing that you can tell me anymore, and you can see it up there on the multi-viewer up there. You can really create dynamic multi-viewers. You can create any kind of thing. There's no boundary anymore as to where you go and put and place these things. What is really cool about what Kairos has is we also have independent internal resources. We have 8 channels of RAM player, 4K uncompressed. Can do a playout list with it. We have 2 channels of clip player, compressed, that can be played out of here. And we also have stills with alpha channels that can be built into this, as well as a full audio mixer. If you are on the ST2110 layer and you are mixing anything AES67, we have those abilities as well. And there is also a very simple editing graphic software that allows you to create very simple dynamic texts, things that you would need on 2 graphics channels. Again, if you have your own graphics player and you want to bring it over NDI or SDI, it can input and be used as sources inside of Kairos. But where the power of Kairos really comes in, what people like to see, is that how do I actually build shows? And you'll notice it looks very similar to Photoshop. Normally when you look at switching, it's like how many MEs, how many layers, how many keyers. Well, with this, we actually don't have an answer because we're not limited. It's not hardware anymore. You notice there's a GPU meter up here. That's all we care about. How many resources are we truly using? So if somebody says that I want to actually build something that has 17 different pips on top of it, all with different layers, and that we can do it because we're not constricted by hardware anymore. Okay. So what Kairos really does is it gives you the ability to be as creative as you want to with the content that you want to have, regardless of where it's coming from. Is it old? Is it new? Is it legacy? We don't care. And then the best part about it at the end is that when you're wanting to push this stuff out to the web or to your screens or your projectors, we can actually take any of these inputs and outputs and upscale them, downscale them, even 24p. Okay. We can put LUT corrections on any of the sources. We can add effects, luminance keys, LUT corrections, YUV corrections, virtual PTZs, borders, all of this stuff we can lay on top of it. And normally when you start to layer effects on things, right, we get latency. But we're not hardware anymore, so there's no cross points. Okay. So now I'm still working from 1 frame of latency from input to output, regardless of how many terrible effects, how many terrible creative decisions I make. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's still 1 frame of latency from input to output.
Okay. That is an insane amount of information, and I'm kind of dumb. So I'm just literally letting that sink in. So it's kind of like an infinity machine.
Yes.
Like, as long as you don't run out of GPU power.
Correct.
So are you
and
building?
Of this, we're feeding 4K to projectors. We've got multi-viewers. We've got
So you're running the whole booth.
This is running. Yes.
Okay.
And we're using 14%.
Okay. So when I call Nationwide and I want to rent this,
yes.
Am I renting the whole rack? Is it getting custom built for what I need for the specifications I give either Kevin or Eli?
I believe that's how it's going to be. They're probably going to make a couple different ranges of them, but the idea would be that there's going to be...
I see Kevin shaking his head, so...
Oh, Kevin's going to come on in and print it for us.
What was the question?
I give you as far as inputs and outputs that I need.
Yes.
And you guys build me a rack for that?
So there's always a custom option, but the whole idea is to create a la carte flypacks. So imagine, if you will, a small, medium, and a large. So a small might be 12 input, 8 output, while the big bad boy could be up to, well, really an infinite amount of input, since we know best the CPU and GPU. But that will give you the Mellanox SN2010 switch, it'll give you the SFPs, it'll get you the leader PTP precision clock mechanism, the multi-viewers, the controller, the software, the whole deal.
Not the truss. Does the truss come with it?
Go back away.
Thank you, Kevin.
And you can also purchase them from Nationwide as well. If you want to buy it and you know that you want to do it, and they've got these great custom cases that they've built. One of the things about Kairos is it is an enterprise grade server, so it is loud. They've built these awesome noise canceling cases for us. It's going to make everybody's life a lot easier. So we're really happy that we've partnered with them, and they're also going to have some training that's going to be going on as well for the new up-and-coming TDs that want to learn about Kairos. Kevin and his team are going to take care of that. So it's a really great relationship.
So, I mean, we're at Infocomm right now. One of the reasons I like coming to Infocomm is because I get to see what's coming next.
Yep.
And like when I wrote all my questions for everybody, it's what's coming next. So do you think this is going to start, is this the next evolution? Is this going to start replacing bigger boxes?
Yes.
Yes.
So, video has been digital for the last few years, obviously, zeros and ones. But the limitation of the end of the copper cable has dictated what we can and cannot do. By going to a SMPTE ST2110 standard of IP over, or AV over IP, we no longer have those limitations. previous camera switchers, or vision switches, call it what you will, have always been SDI based. SDI will give us a simply standard 38, 40, 2160, that's the max width. But because technically we're not limited to the SDI cable, which was the limitation, we can now do infinite canvas. So if I want to do an 8,000 pixel wide LED display, I can drive from here. So because I'm now driving these custom canvases, is an image processor and a screen switcher truly needed? That's a philosophical debate. At the same point too, this also has the ability to play up to, I think, 10 video players. So 8 RAM players and 2 clip players, and H.264, H.265, and uncompressed .rr video sequences. So I can play back all the content. More importantly though, I'm not limited to a one-stop shop with an operator. I can have multiple people logged into one system via computers and laptops. So if I want to have my camera switcher using a normal ME style switcher with T-bar, they can do that. Well, I can have my high-res switcher utilizing a laptop with a Stream Deck, hitting background presets of the large 32:9 output. I can also have another player looking at a very friendly user interface for the playback system with countdowns, TRTs, and their whole playlist, all living on one ecosystem. And then what I like too, because it's all IP based, I don't need a dedicated matrix router, a 72x72 by SDI router. The Mellanox SN2010 has the ability to route any output to any iteration at any time. So that essentially is my router. Anything plugged into the Mellanox can be controlled as quote-unquote destination, a bus, an output, an aux, call it what you want. I could take a Mellanox switch, drop it in front of house, put an SFP cage on there, and have a multi-viewer output. They can feed me a graphics and a teleprompt. I can do an overflow room. Everything running via fiber optic with no actual physical copper cables, except for the direct endpoints if I want it. But I can assume that most manufacturers are going to go direct SFP 28 plus fiber optic as time goes on. Why bother converting?
My head hurts. I'm gonna have to rewind that and slow, and then I'm going to have to look up a lot of things. Holy cow! Yeah, this is because I've been using software that does a lot of video switching stuff, but I have a tower at my house, and I've got capture cards. Sure. So I'm building, I'm about to expand that out. Same general idea, only just cranked up to 20. Yep. Yeah. Oh, holy cow. Yep. And holy cow. Okay, my brain hurts, and I need to go sit down.
Well, that was the idea of us kind of coming here. We wanted to show people the creative things that they could do with it, because while it does look like a hardware switcher and it functions like one, the idea is you can be as creative as possible. You can take it whatever signals it is as possible, and it allows you to grow into the future without having to worry about more hardware-based. We know software is the future.
Okay. So, real quickly on this, there's a lot of buttons on this, and I love buttons.
Oh, good.
But what is like this in here? Because
that's an area for us to go and build out our macros. But what's super cool about this is, as soon as I decide,
it's fully assignable.
So I say I want it to be. So I determine how I want this thing to lay out.
Gotcha.
If I want, so it looks like a traditional 2ME switcher.
Mm-hmm.
But one's if I want it to act like a 4ME switcher. I click there. Do I want my cut on one side, my auto on the other? I create my layout. Notice everything kind of changes, and now it says, okay, Bob, let's go ahead and let's assign what you want to at each of these. I can assign any of my inputs, any of my outputs, any of my scenes, any of my sources, and then as you'll see, as these things start to populate, they start to populate on my switcher. So I'm totally in control of whatever buttons are here, whatever they do, whatever I want them to do, whatever I ask them to do, I do it.
How long have y'all been working on this?
I believe it was released at the end of 2019. Obviously, the pandemic made it a little bit hard for us to kind of show people what was going on. So yeah, it's been on the around for about a year and a half.
Because I live in what I believe is like kind of a niche world in event productions, but like I'm such a big nerd that like this is the kind of thing that me and a couple of my friends have been talking about for years, just with the backing of a Panasonic to just steamroll it out there. That's insane.
A lot of people use VMix or OBS Ninja. Like those are very comfortable for a lot of people. And the cool thing is we're trying to break down barriers. The cool thing is you can have that same idea, the ability to feel comfortable about moving media around, but you just know you have a name like Panasonic behind you that understands what broadcasters need. We're making sure we're not cutting corners. We're making sure that everything's in there. We're buying full NDI licenses. There's SRT into it. We're not playing around. But the idea is we want to make it simple and creative enough that anybody can get in front of it and they're just not intimidated. Sometimes a panel like this can be really intimidating to somebody and they just want to walk away. And so I have to kind of bring them back over here and show them, okay, well, are you okay with a PC that you can push? Are you okay with just moving some faders around? You know, the idea is just to try to get them comfortable, know that Kairos has their back on the creative side. Cool. Yeah.
That is a lot of stuff. Again, I'm gonna have to watch this multiple times, and especially when Kevin was talking, slow that thing down. But thank you so much for your time. You have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Josh Schneidmiller, Nationwide Case. We're here at Infocomm 2021, and I want to describe a little bit about our cases that we're making now. This is our Kairos case that we're building for Panasonic themselves. We have the Kairos system here on a lid that is built with table legs, and it's a 1/2-inch case built with ball corners and able to open up, come out, and use as a table for the Kairos board. All right. Okay, this is our sound dampening rack that we made for Panasonic here at Infocomm 2021. What we have here is a 1/2-inch ATA case, and what we have is the front lid as a front of the house rack. We have the plexiglass so we can open up and see the different objects and monitors that we're using. The server is right here that we use, and the different things we're wiring up. Down here, we have the route outs to vent out from the bottom because heat rises, so we're going to have the heat go in and rise out through the back. That's why we have there. Here we have the front lid. It's a snap-on lid. This lid goes on here and just on the front, so when we ship it, it's able to protect the equipment when it's in the case. As we walk around the case, we have front locking casters. This is called our hexagrap. This is the type of case material. We have the 1/2-inch. We have the ball corners, flat corners, ATA wheels. Come around the back side here. This is our hinging lid, so we're able to hear the sound dampening part. As we open up the case, you're going to hear the loudness of the machine. This is the server noise. That's where sound dampening. If you look on here, we have sound dampening foam, so it cuts down the foam. As the heat rises, that's why we have it vented in the back. So.
Stick the microphone in there.
Now listen to it when it's closed. So it cuts down a lot of the thing. And with the heat coming out here, it's able to vent. This has been running the whole show and has not have any heat resistance at all. The last thing that we have on here is the wheel on the door so the thing doesn't fall down, it doesn't vent down. And then we have the route out so you can cut, the wiring comes down and runs out through the wall. And that is our case for the sound dampening rack that we have for Panasonic here at 2021 Infocomm. My name is Josh Schneidmiller, Nationwide Case. Love to have anybody call me. Let's talk about custom cases. Thank you.
So actually, what is the process if someone wants to reach out to you and get a custom case built? Say, I need a case, I need a standard caddy, but I need it for, like foamed out for XYZ.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, I ask them if it's gear. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
When somebody asks me a question for a custom case, I ask them if it's a gear-related case or if it's a custom truck pack case or if they need for monitors or if they need for a rack. And that's the different things that people want to know. I want to make sure that it works for their trucks and what they have as far as custom gear. We have designs that's able to go, that work with everybody in the market, but everybody has their own different custom gear that they have to put in there. So I'll say, can I have an 8-drawer workbox? Or can I have a trunk that's truck pack 45 by 22 so it goes in a 90-inch truck pack? There's different questions that I want to ask that work for each custom gear. So that's the questions that I work with and I'm able to answer for your questions.